here with my sidekick Dobby, and today I am talking about The Jewel by Amy Ewing. So this is a book that I listened to in an audiobook, so I do not have a physical copy, but as you can see, I have the image up here ready to talk about. This is a book I've been meaning to read for a while, mostly because it's so pretty. The covers always remind me of the Selection trilogy, which I love, trilogy plus 2. One of my friends from work just recently read it and told me that I needed to, which finally got me to actually do it. So I finally was able to start this series, and it's a finished trilogy, which is very exciting because that means I don't have to wait for any books. Yay! For those of you that don't know, this book follows a girl named Violet who was taken away from her family at age 12 to be trained in auguries, which I guess are these magical powers that some people are born with. And the people with these powers are destined to become a surrogate for the royal families that can't have their own children, mostly because of internal breeding, which, you know, causes some funky stuff to happen. Anyway, I don't know if it's every year. It's not clear whether there's an auction once a year or more often than that. I got the impression it was once a year. Anyway, once a year, a bunch of girls go up for auction, and the royals and other people that are much more well-to-do than the surrogates and their families can purchase a surrogate to carry her children. Sound crazy yet? Violet is a surrogate, but she doesn't want to be. She's looking for a way out of this situation. She has a best friend named Violet who also doesn't want to be one. And then I guess there's also Lily, who is of the other mind. Like, this is what we're meant to do and we should do it, and I'm so excited to go into what's called the Jewel, which is the area where the wealthiest and royals live. But as it turns out, Violet is one of the most worthy of the surrogates. There are 200 total, which is more than normal. They are ranked where number 1 is the least desirable of the surrogates and 200 is the most desirable. Violet is number 197. We also find out that at the point that they get their number, that is now their identity. They lose their name and all they care about is their lot number and what type of offspring can come from them, I guess. I think that's the main idea of the book. I'm going to give a couple of my overall thoughts and then get into some spoilers. I did enjoy this book. I thought it was a little slow at the beginning. I was having some trouble really getting into it. I didn't feel the need to keep listening even when I got to my destination because I usually listen to audiobooks in the car. I spent the good first at least a third of the book trying to figure out what the actual plot was. I kept thinking I saw where it was going and then being wrong. I did enjoy it a lot once it got more into the story. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, and I'm thinking like 82% out of 100. So basically that 4 stars is where it is. There is a romance in the story that I will talk about more in the spoiler section, and my one issue with that is it was a little bit too love at first sight for me. I like to have a bit more build-up in my romances, and the only time I like them to be in love immediately is when they were actually together before the story started, or at least one of them liked the other one before the story started. I'm going to give my official spoiler warning now, so yeah, if you have not read it yet, go ahead and read it and then come back and talk to me, okay? Okay, bye. If you are still here, hopefully that means that you've read The Jewel and you are ready to get into some spoilers. I'm actually not going to talk that much, partly because I am 4 or 5 chapters into book 2, and I'm scared that if I get into too many details about book 1, I'm going to accidentally say the spoiler from book 2, and I'm not giving a spoiler warning for book 2, so I don't want to spoil anything from book 2, right? By the way, those of you in the comments, do not spoil anything from books 2 or 3, because if you post this anytime in the next couple days, I will not have read it yet. Don't do that. Don't ruin it for me. Or for other people watching this. Don't do it. Anyway, I think I'm just going to go through the characters. I want to talk about Lucien first. I I keep going back and forth of how I feel about Lucien. At the very beginning, he was very Cinna, and I was like, okay, this guy is exactly the same as Cinna. I mean, his job was to make her look pretty, but he wanted her to still look like herself. He was like the only person to ask her if this is what she wanted. And he was secretly working for a rebellion. So, I mean, he was Cinna. But as we got more into the story, I know Violet kept questioning his motives, and I feel like I was too. I never understood exactly what he was doing and why. I know he said about his sister and how, I guess, Violet reminded him of his sister. I don't know, that doesn't seem like enough to me. He like really went undercover for this. And I feel like it takes more than just, oh, my sister, I mean, your sister dying is a big deal. Obviously, the sister is the one whose beheading she was at a couple years before. And that, what was his name, Cobalt? The guy, I assume, boyfriend maybe, that she wanted to say that she loved before she died. I assume we're going to meet him at some point, or at least learn more about him at some point. I have a feeling we're going to meet him at some point. I think that's it for Lucien for now. I'm sure I'll talk about him more in book 2, when I talk about book 2. I want to talk about when Dahlia died, because we met Dahlia earlier, and I really liked her. I liked that she was embarrassed that she was number 200, which I feel like Violet was kind of embarrassed by her number as well. I was not expecting that. I knew there was going to be some, like, dirty stuff happening, but I didn't see the Duchess actually killing Dahlia. Especially when Dahlia wasn't even really a threat to her, because it's not like Dahlia's offspring was going to be the next Electress. I didn't like that part. I mean, it was good. I also found it interesting that the Duchess took her to the thing about Dahlia dying and didn't even tell her why they were there, why they were wearing black, until they were gone. And then she's like, yeah, I killed her. Yeah, that's what happens. Sorry. Obviously, I need to talk about Ash. Ash was one of my big problems in this book. I liked him when we first met him because he was intriguing and attractive, obviously, and didn't know that she was who she was. I love that whole little mistaken identity moment. Once they started getting together is when I stopped trusting him, because it happened too fast, and I didn't like it. It was too much, too fast. At the moment that they're about to bring their relationship to the next level, and he tells her about his history with the mothers of other women that have paid for him. As strange as that sounds, that's what made me trust him again, because I feel like that was something he wouldn't tell unless he was serious. So, I don't know. I still think that relationship was too rushed. They went from strangers to being willing to sacrifice their lives for each other in, like, one interaction, which is ridiculous. When Lucien walked in on Ash and Violet, I think that was probably my favorite scene because it was awkward and wonderful, and it's also when we found out that the surrogates were going to die. All of them. Not just the ones that get murdered out of jealousy and other things, but, you know, they were all going to die eventually. I'm wondering if they have to die, or if it's just like, well, nobody cares enough to pay attention to them once the baby comes, so we just take the babies and let them go. Because you'd think you could have 2 babies with the same surrogate. Wouldn't that be better? Rather than having to buy a new surrogate for the next baby? Raven, I love Raven. I think Raven might actually be my favorite character. She's fierce and awesome and put up with a lot. Alright, let me get into the ending. She realized that Raven needed to be the one to get out of there rather than her. So she basically gave Raven her escape. It shows who she truly is. Like, she could have just gone with the plan and been like, alright, well, I'm getting out of here, so this is awesome, but she's like, no, my best friend's getting out of here, because it's more important right now. I might have another chance. It doesn't seem like she will. And then, of course, she went to tell Ash, and they got caught. And then Ash got thrown in jail, beat up right in front of her. Another Cinna moment right there, watching a person that you love getting beat up right in front of you and dragged away and not knowing what happened to him. That's pretty much how the story ends. I'm not going to make predictions for the next book because I've already started the next book, and anything I say will be a spoiler from this point for that one. So, Like I said, this isn't a super long review. I will let you know when I finish the second one, and I will talk to you then. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. You can subscribe to me by clicking up here. Follow me on Twitter at ReaderGonnaRead, and I will talk to you next time.